Hey, folks, we are back in the NGConf podcast booth, and I am here with James Daniels and Alex Okrushko.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
I know. I can remember things for about an hour, and then right. And we had Alex in here. We were talking about Angular in depth, but now we're talking about Firebase.
Hey, everyone.
So
Hey.
This episode is sponsored by Sentry.io. Recently, I came across a great tool for tracking and monitoring problems in my apps. Then I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the show and allow me to share my experience with you. Sentry provides a terrific interface for keeping track of what's going on with my app. It also tracks releases so I can tell if what I deployed makes things better or worse. They give full stack traces and as much information as possible about the situation when the error occurred to help you track down the errors. Plus, one thing I love, you can customize the context provided by Sentry. So, if you're looking for specific information about the request, you can provide it. It automatically scrubs passwords and secure information, and you can customize the scrubbing as well. Finally, it has a user feedback system built in that you can use to get information from your users. Oh, and I also love that they support open source to the point where they actually open sourced Sentry if you want to self-host it. Use the code DevChat at Sentry.io to get 2 months free on Sentry's small plan. That's code DevChat at Sentry.io. So Firebase, I remember when it came out forever ago and talking to David East.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think we had Cato Richardson on as well.
Cato's awesome.
And then it got acquired by Google, and so the whole conversation changed because, they weren't trying to run and make the company. Well, they were trying to make the company grow, but it was within Google, and it was kind of a different thing. So.
Yeah, not startup problems anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it went from 3 products to 300. Right?
I know. I keep trying to keep track of all the stuff going on at Firebase, and I'm like, oh, so I can just do everything and the kitchen sink now, right? So
Exactly. I just have the sidebar open and I hit F5 all the time, and just that's how I see the new products.
That's right. It's been 5 minutes. There's got to be something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you want to just? I mean, I remember when Firebase was essentially back-end as a service, right? It was a database thing that you talked to. So what is Firebase now?
Well, I mean, Firebase is really a platform now. It's a platform as a service for mobile developers and also web developers, and really it aims to be a one-stop shop for. I mean, the way I see it, 80% of all applications, almost everything that they do could be on the Firebase platform. And that lasts the long tail, the 20%. Firebase is a great, easy on-ramp to Google Cloud Platform. And that's how I see it. It's very opinionated, and it's an easy on-ramp to Google Cloud and can run all of your workload.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even though the initial focus was very, very heavily on the mobile users, the direction that Firebase is heading right now is to be your backend for any kind of client applications, be it mobile or web.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you put it that way, because I talk to a lot of front-end developers, and they're like, well, I don't want to learn a back-end language. I don't want to learn a back-end framework, right? I just want to write Angular, and then I want to tell some back-end what to do.
Exactly. And the model's different. One of the things that I joined the team about 3 years ago now, and the first project that I jumped on the Firebase team was they needed help shipping what became Cloud Functions for Firebase. And that was actually the most requested feature in the Firebase platform forever was, I'm talking right to my database, no intermediary servers. How do I do side effects?
Right.
How do I want to write to my database, and then I want things to happen. I want an email to fire off, a text message to go out, a push notification. Maybe when you upload something to storage, it writes back to the database. Common stuff that a server does. Before you needed, there was like a Zapier integration, and that was sort of the unofficial Cloud Functions. And so the first thing I saw is that opportunity to jump on. And for me, DevRel, it's really helping the users understand how they can utilize the platform and build their workload on it. So I saw that as a prime opportunity. And it was something that I had to keep my mouth zipped for a year and a half because I knew was coming, and I was just like, bear with us, we're making it better. That's the most painful part, and being inside Google is seeing all the cool stuff that hasn't shipped yet.
Right.
And like trying not to spill the beans at a conference like this.
Right. No, I have big plans for dev chat, and sometimes it's coming. I don't want to say anything because then you're going to be, when is it? When is it? When is it?
Yeah,
when is
exactly.
it? When is it? When is it?
And it's not even like I would be comfortable like saying, we have cool stuff coming, but I have no timeline. Right. It could be, a year from now. And I don't want them like not shipping their application because they're waiting for something for us for like a year.
Right.
Our now that we are part of Google, our timelines are a little bit different than a startup. Right. A year is like live and die, whereas us, that's just, one perf cycle.
Right.
But I also like how features are introduced sometimes. Like we do introduce beta versions, right?
Yeah.
So we still try it out. We promise it's coming, or you can try and use it with care, and then eventually graduate it to general availability.
Yeah, and we have now an alpha testers program. So actually, if you want to see some of the stuff that like I'm having to keep my mouth zipped about, you can actually join the Firebase alpha testers program, and you might get selected to be one of the EAP testers for some really cool functionality.
Yeah, early access program.
Yeah.
Nice. So you keep mentioning that you're in DevRel. Are you both DevRel, or that's developer relations for the non-slaying listener?
Exactly.
No, I'm actually in the software engineer role. So I work on the Firebase console itself. So that's why I love Angular. We use Angular on our application. So yeah, I'm actually the guy who's implementing web application.
Yeah.
Great.
And developer relations, right? That's a really wide bucket.
Yes.
So for me, myself, the thing that's most pertinent to this audience, right, is I'm the Angular Fire maintainer.
So there we go.
I'm actually pretty SWE heavy, so software engineering.
Guys, it's James's fault.
Yeah, exactly. It's my fault, so blame me. And then I'm also really event
we love
heavy,
it,
right? Yeah,
everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do a lot of talks at conferences, and then manning the booth, giving out T-shirts and swag, and getting that developer feedback. So.
Giving out T-shirts has got to be a great gig.
Yeah, I mean that's 80% of my job, right?
Awesome. So what's it like in the day of Firebase DevRel or software engineer?
Lots of email, right?
Oh yeah, email is lots of code reviews too.
Email code reviews, a lot of
timelines.
Can I opt out of email? That would make my life better.
Well, I've been trying to since they deprecated Inbox. I've been like, I don't want to learn Gmail. It's been a couple of years, and I'm kind of on an email strike. I mean, kidding, but
no.
Time box it.
I like talking to people, but man, some days I'm just like, there's a big pile of stuff in here, and I only care about like 4 things in here.
Yeah, there's a trick, select all, mark it read, and if it was important, you'll get it again.
Yeah. I just boomerang my entire inbox. I'm just like, well,
you are not kidding.
Remind me in 1 month, and it's 30,000 new emails every single month.
No, but honestly, I do. I grind through it, and then half the stuff is remind me in a week.
Right.
And
one of the things that I liked in like one of the last versions of Inbox was if you kept on snoozing something like 3 or 4 times, it kept on being like, you should actually get to this. It would have like a little nag saying, you snoozed this a bunch. Why don't you respond?
Yeah.
Beyond that, I mean, it's a lot of, we run developer feedback sessions. So we sit down with engineers in a room and we put a computer in front of them and have them try out an API or do some pseudocode. A lot of producing videos and podcasts and blog posts and reviewing those. And then, some of that project management type stuff where we're looking at the upcoming launches, making sure that the documentation's in place, that the code examples are there, that the features, I get to play with a lot of things.
Right.
And, it's ultimately, do we ship this or do I pull the brake lever and throw up the klaxons and say, hey, this documentation is not great. This experience is not great. Let's spend a couple more weeks on this and really like rethink some of this flow.
Yeah, for me, it's using a lot of Angular knowledge to work on the console itself, and then actually write about that, some of the findings and some of the learnings that we do along the way, give it back to the community, to the Angular community, through either like Angular in depth blog or through some of the talks. This year would be interesting for me as well. I'll be participating in NG Vikings, NGMI, and Angular in depth conference to speak there about some of the Nginx developments. So that also is
a lot of traveling, right? I mean,
it is a lot of traveling, so it's worth it. I like it.
I think I've been 14 countries in like the rolling year, so
I haven't done a whole lot of international, but like I've been to 6 or 7 conferences this year, and it's fun, but it's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah, I've been back and forth from Southeast Asia a lot.
Yeah.
And like Singapore to anywhere is one of the longest flights in the world, no matter where you're going. So, it gets a little exhausting when you're back and forth, like from Southeast Asia. That's a long flight.
Yeah, I booked my flight for Kuala Lumpur, and it's from Toronto. It's 22-hour flight with a 1 hour layover. So it is interesting, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
One of the things that I actually manage is the GDE program, the Google Developer Experts. And we're really trying hard, especially in Asia, Japan, Pacific, to try to onboard more of them, because the Google Developer Experts are kind of Google Developer Relations.
Right.
Us on the Firebase team, we treat them as yellow shirts. We give them yellow shirts, and those are the special ones you only get if you're a Firebase speaker. And that really helps us DevRelers, where we don't have to travel all around the world, and we have some ground floor access to those communities.
Nice. Yeah, better than making them red shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they definitely help, because they are all more tied to the community where they are, instead of somebody from States flying in as well.
And they work with the Google developer groups a lot, and that's really where we pull these experts from, and they really make our jobs easier. Like I work with Jeff Delaney, who does Fireship.io, and his YouTube videos. Anytime I come out with a new Angular Fire feature, it's like he has a video the next day. It's crazy. It makes my job a lot easier, and I can focus on the code and the developer experience.
Yeah. So, NGConf, how many years have you come?
Oh, let's see here. I've been here every year for at least 3 years, maybe 4 now. Yeah.
This is my second year at NGConf.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
It's fun. I mean, it's a blast. It's exhausting. Like, especially, it's when you're speaking and when you're staffing the event. Like, it's a lot. I actually haven't gotten to do many of the social things because at the end of the day, I just crash. It's, a long day at the office here for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't speaking at the NGConf this year. So for me, it's actually the opposite. A lot of conversations. All through until late at night, from early mornings.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic to meet all the people and talk in person. Not only the speakers, but the users of Firebase, the users of Angular, or people who are excited about Nginx and have questions about it.
Yeah.
All of those, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. And there are some really cool demos that we're involved with too. One of the things I like is this year my Angular Universal talk was I built a demo app for that. And then I shared that demo app with a couple other speakers.
Right.
So we were all kind of framing all of our talks around that. And that was a new experience for me. And something that I really liked was, it allowed us to focus and hone in on that, Angular Universal story. How do we help developers create a great Angular Universal experience using Google Cloud and Firebase? And, centralizing those talks around one example helped a lot. And I mean, it put a little bit extra work on me this year. I'm sure, Brett and Jason were very happy to have that work done for them. But and then we launched the ng deploy Firebase stuff with Minko, and that's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a very great talk and demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what does the rest of your life look like? What when you're not angular firing and
Well,
devrelling and traveling?
I have a terrible microbrew habit. I really
Uh-huh.
like beer and hanging out at the local pub scene and enjoy
Okay.
that. And actually, there's a great pub scene here in Salt Lake. So when I'm
Yeah.
visiting, I like to get some of the craft brews. Aside from that, I'm into outdoorsy stuff. So I like hiking. A lot of beautiful trails, like in California. I'm actually from the East Coast, so I'm used to like walking Appalachia,
Right.
and from Maine, Mount Katahdin, and then of course being from Maine, I can't claim to be a Mainer without saying I can actually sail. It's just it's a prerequisite.
Oh,
right?
really?
We all get our sailing card in like third grade or something.
I didn't know that. That's good to know. This episode is brought to you by TripleByte. Applying to programming jobs sucks. You have to put the right keywords in your resume, you spend hours and hours on the phone screens and take-home projects, and that's assuming the company even responds to your application. Well, if you're a software engineer, TripleByte can help. They work with over 400 top tech companies, from big names like Dropbox and Adobe to exciting startups. You do one brief online interview with them, and if you do well, you go straight to final interviews with the company on their platform. It's like the Common App for software developers. TripleByte does not look at your resume or where you went to school. All they care about is if you can code. I've helped dozens of software developers with various credentials get jobs, and this looks like a terrific way for you to get in and get interviewed and get a job without a lot of the hassle and overhead. You can go check them out at triplebyte.com/astory. That's triplebyte.com, byte as in 8 bits. As a special offer for listeners of this show, if you take a job through TripleByte, they'll offer you a $1,000 signing bonus. So you're from Maine and you still live in Maine?
Yeah, well, I'm from Maine, but when I joined up with Google, at the time, Firebase's presence was mostly in California. So I moved out to San Francisco.
Oh, gotcha.
And then shortly thereafter, that's when we merged up with Fabric. And I was like, darn, there's now a Cambridge office that's a little closer to home.
Right.
But I've gotten spoiled by California and no winters, right? It gets a little rainy and a little cold in winter, but the last year I was living
I live here in Salt Lake City, so I know what you're
exactly.
I know what you're missing.
The last year that I lived in Boston was that horrible winter. We got like 9 feet of snow in 2 weeks, and shut down the trains and destroyed the city for weeks. And after that, I'm tempted to go back East Coast, but putting up with the winter will be a little bit of a burden.
Yeah, I am on the East Coast. I live in Toronto, so but for me, a lot of my non-work time is I have 3 young kids, all under age of 5, twins as well. So
wow.
They take a lot of time. I love them to death, obviously.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They take a lot of time, right? So it's when they go to bed at 9 or 9:30, then it's for me the decision time. Like, do I go and have some rest, or actually write some blogs or work with some Nginx stuff and contributor to the Nginx repo.
I'm very impressed with people that have kids and still like do so much work, right? Like you do a lot of work and a good job.
Thanks. Yeah, but the weekends usually means that you almost cannot really touch the keyboard because they all busy.
Less hiking.
I made
and
that
sailing,
deal with my
Less
wife.
hiking, sailing. Yes,
right?
I do have a woodworking shop at the basement, but sometimes it gets a little bit dusty because priorities.
Yeah, I kind of have a deal with my wife that I won't work on Saturday unless I have to, and so we get out and do stuff with the kids. Of course, that last weekend and this weekend, I'm a delegate for the local political party, and the organizing conventions where we elect party leaders were last week and this week, and so
it's starting to get busy time for that, right?
Yeah, so we're gearing up going into a caucus next year, and oh my gosh, and so. I'm exhausted from this, and then I have to go to the convention tomorrow, and then I fly to Microsoft Build
on
Sunday. So it doesn't end. So and I have 5 kids, aging from 3 to 13. So that definitely keeps me busy. So
as someone who does not have children, at least not yet, I am amazed by people that have children and find that balance.
Yeah,
But it is nice though. Like it's finally getting warmer in Toronto right now.
Yeah.
After a long winter.
Oh, I know. Here too, right?
Yeah.
My wife was saying, well, it might snow this week. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. So we finally had to get a time to enjoy a trip to Niagara Falls or somewhere else. It's nice.
This, as a Californian, this is probably springtime's my favorite time to travel, because my expectation is it's just Northern California weather anywhere I go. It's just, I might need a jacket. I might not, probably no open face shoes, but like no sandals. But, I can pretty much comfortably travel everywhere. And it's going to be around 60 degrees, maybe a little chilly, maybe a little wet, but, always comfortable.
Yeah.
I use Celsius, so 60 degrees doesn't tell me much.
No context there, right?
Well, 40 degrees Celsius is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And 0 degrees Celsius is about 30 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So 60 degrees puts you somewhere in the middle.
Now, little fun fact was I was visiting my brother back in Maine and my family in January. And I was there and I was talking to a friend of mine in Europe, and he was asking how the weather was there. And I'm like, it's really, really cold. It's -60 with wind chill. And he's like, well, what's that in Celsius? Because I have no idea Fahrenheit. And I looked it up, and it's -60. It's the overlap point. It's where they're the same. It's just freaking cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I lived in Italy for 2 years, and so yeah, I've got a couple of those that I can just off the top of my head go, well, this is about this, and that's about that.
I mean, -60, unless you live in the far northern reaches, is not something that most people are familiar with. So I doubt it really touched -60.
Well, and when it got that cold
Italy.
here in the U.S., it for whatever reason didn't get that cold here. So yeah,
and actually, Utah I found is rather moderate. It's not too extreme on either side.
No,
it
it
does
freezes
get
in the
snowy,
winter, but
like it's not like when I go up to see my friends in Canada or my family in Maine.
Yeah.
Where it's just like feet and feet and feet of snow and negative
Well,
some large
you get
number,
crazy stuff
right?
off the ocean and stuff, and we
Exactly.
don't. The
Yeah.
mountains kind of protect us from some of that. So.
Yeah, sheltered a bit.
But yeah, so anyway, back to the interview here for a minute.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun. The tangents
Yeah,
are
exactly.
fun. It
Yeah,
gives people
yeah.
a chance to get to know who you are.
But let's rope it back a little bit.
Yeah. So what kinds of conversations are you having with people? Because I mean, I go sit down with people at lunch and they talk to me about where they are with Angular, be it upgrading from Angular JS or, we're doing these kinds of things with Angular or things like that. But I imagine that people coming to talk to you about Firebase are talking to you about different kinds of things or different kinds of problems.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of the questions, of course, are centered around the talk that I gave, right? So I'm getting a lot of questions about Angular Universal and pre-boot and state transfer. And, there's a lot of new concepts there. And you're taking people that have been maybe front-end developers for their whole career, and now you're bringing back-end concepts at them, like expiration headers and e-tags and all those. And now caching, right? Like, what is Mcache and
Right.
Redis, right? So working with them through those concepts, and then also how Firebase fits into those. So answering a lot of Angular Fire questions and people being like, why haven't you responded to my GitHub bug yet? And I'm like,
Slacker.
Yeah, exactly. It was in my email and then I snoozed it. Sorry.
I've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild and I just haven't gotten to it
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
But in general, at the booth, we get a lot of questions in like, what's real-time database and how is it different from the Firestore?
Yeah.
Is it secure or?
I'd say here this is a good audience in terms of awareness of Google Cloud and Firebase. There's a good close relationship there. So when we do get a lot of questions, it's not like, what is X? It's just, I've heard of you a lot. Can you give me the elevator pitch? Right. It's Firebase is a lot of products. So it's that elevator pitch of what is Firebase.
Right.
And we get that a lot. Or then very, very specific problems where someone pulls out a laptop and is like, I'm having a problem. Can you explain why it's like this, right? It's the why. I'm angry, why? And then, working to resolve those or
It's your
get
fault,
the
James.
feedback. Exactly.
It is.
My fault.
Alex, you have to
luckily-
keep reminding him of that.
Yeah,
luckily, we
exactly.
have Cato with us as well.
Yeah.
Who is
Oh,
the
it's Cato's
expert.
fault. That's
He's
fair.
Cato, he's an expert in every little details of every Firebase darker
Yeah.
corners.
And then every once in a while I'll get like someone who's like, I'm using Firebase and it's not playing well with NGRX, and I'm then looking for someone to pass it on to.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are interesting questions.
Good deal. So what are you hoping that they do next year at NGConf?
Well, I'm, of course, looking forward to whatever crazy, fun, awesome presentation StackBlitz has, because that's
Yeah.
always fun. They're
Deployed to space.
Exactly, deploy to space, and the costumes, and it's just
Yeah.
that reliably is now becoming, my favorite presentations. And yeah, I'm going up and signing up for that pro plan just
Yeah.
because it's an awesome product and an awesome
Yeah,
team.
absolutely. Yeah, I told him that too. I was like, I don't use StackBlitz all the time, but I'm going to go sign up so I can give you money
Oh, it's actually interesting.
because it's so great.
The last time I met them for the first time at NGConf last year,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't know them before that. So I come up as like, hey guys, I really like StackBlitz. I use it for my prototyping pieces for Firebase. They're like, oh, are we using Firebase to host it? It's like, it's
Yeah.
so awesome. right?
Firebase all the way down.
Yeah,
right?
so it's like, you use my product to build better your product, like your better products. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's some circular use cases, huh?
Yeah,
Yes,
and,
definitely.
And it was actually a surprise to me. I like David East had worked with them on their demo now both years, right? And to see that collaborative editing piece, and I'm like,
Right.
that's really cool. And then I was talking to people, and then like to find out that was built on top of the real-time database,
Right.
and that was really awesome to me because I was like, that's a really cool feature. How'd you do it? And they're like, we used your stuff actually.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it always brings a smile to your face.
Yeah, I love their marketing this year so much that I actually I told them I was going to steal all of it because I'm sponsoring a podcasting conference in August.
Yeah.
And I'm building a podcasting service, and yeah, it's just like the astronaut suits and the
Exactly. I was
I'm gonna
doing
redesign my website and the whole 9 yards.
I was doing my dry runs and like walking through my slides, and I saw a bunch of people like during the dry runs and practice sessions. I saw a bunch of people coming up in spacesuits, and I'm like, StackBlitz. Yep. Costumes, check. Right. That's got to be them.
Yeah, they kept me in the dark though. He's like, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and then when I saw the science lunch and all the parallax effects, and I worked on parallax some effects myself. I know how hard they are and how exciting it is to build them, to see them going. They're like, oh, that's so awesome. They're like, oh yeah, Dominic Elm built it. Did a fantastic job there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did not know it was built on Firebase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool stuff on it. It's actually the thing that's most exciting to me about that, and getting surprised by it. And of course, I know Firebase is capable of that, and it's a great solution, and they probably used it. Is we get so focused a lot of times on building the technology itself and the day-to-day issues and the emails and the meetings and all this, that a lot of times we don't actually get a chance to think about. We built some really cool stuff. What's possible to build on top of it?
Right.
What type of experiences will developers think up? What creative ways will they misuse this technology? And, we don't often get a chance to sit back and think about it. So I come here and I see something like that, and, it's built on our platform, and I'm stunned, right? It's just really cool to see. And I'm like, man, I didn't even think of that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, for the last year, I've been working on the ML Kit team, and there's some and just in a week, there'll be some cool announcements in that area, and it's so exciting to see the stuff that you've been working on for almost over a year to finally get out and people start using it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, easy to get jaded too, sitting through just meetings and meetings and meetings about it, right?
So true.
So, can you talk about upcoming features, or do we have to wait for announcements?
We don't want to spoil anyone's super awesome presentations at Google I/O, but it's in a week. There's some really cool stuff coming out.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Microsoft conference watching the Google conference. It's going to be real fun.
And, this is one of those, again, pitching that early access partners list. Sign up for EAP. You might get selected to beta test some of this stuff before the presentations.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
It's all under NDA, though, so.
I figured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, I've also been trying to get a Google I.O. ticket for the last 3 years, and they do that lottery, and I'm just not cool enough or lucky enough.
Last year was my first time ever getting the WWDC lottery, and I've been applying for that.
I quit applying to that one
forever. Right? Every year it's just like I submit. I'd never gotten a golden ticket, and last year I did. So, yeah. I mean, I get to go to I/O as a DevRel. Actually, a lot of Googlers don't get to go to I/O.
Yeah.
Us DevRelers, we have to work there, but so that guarantees access. I don't get to go to the keynote though.
Right.
It's too busy.
You get a ticket and some shackles.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to work.
Yeah, they just lock me right to the booth.
Yeah.
And they're like, "You're working Ask Firebase for the next 4 hours. Enjoy."
Yeah. Get back to work.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, it's been great to talk and just kind of get a feel for what's going on with Firebase. I definitely need to just get in and see what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
the other thing is you said it's kind of a general introduction to Google Cloud Platform.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of situations where I was trying something and it said, "Oh, just do it on Google Cloud Platform," and then I'm like trying to enable permissions on this, that, and the other, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is hard.
Now Firebase is part of Google Cloud, but it's a different model, right? It's really that.
Yeah, I've fiddled
really
with some
seamless,
of it. It's pretty approachable. So.
Yeah, and I'd say if you're fiddling around with things, playing around with the new things, check out Firestore and check out Cloud Run. Cloud Run is really, really cool. It's like a lot of the benefits of Cloud Functions, and instead of just being Node and Python, it's any Docker file. So you just make a Docker file, and it deploys. It's serverless. It's running. There's even one demo where someone took like an old version of OpenOffice and was running it, and scaled it to 0 and scaled it to a lot of servers to handle load. And it's just crazy to see that it's just any Docker file, nothing magic, right? Nothing special about the runtime. And it has a great integration with Firebase hosting.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, always fun to just catch up and see what things are going on and what you guys are doing. So, bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.